Hello, Budapest. It's great to be here. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. So, I'd like to start off with an introduction. I'm the CEO of Takeaway Reality. We're a Metaverse agency, but what we mainly do is we create experiences. And this is what I would like to talk to you about today. I would like to talk about experiences. To be more specific, I would like to talk, this is the green button. I would like to talk about how experiences are very important to us as humans, then what the elements of a great experience are, and how do we use the metaverse and innovation to build a great experience in the 2020s. In fact, how the metaverse could completely reimagine the way we look at experiences. So, the first thing we need to ask ourselves is how important are experiences? Because if they are not important at all, then, well, we can all just leave this presentation and go for a coffee. But I'd like to illustrate with a story the importance of experiences. You see, something interesting happened in Estonia just last year. An 87-year-old epilepsy patient died while having his brain scanned. And what happened is something that is not something that happens usually, right? People don't usually die while having their brain scanned. So scientists did what scientists do, and they wrote a research paper on it. And it's a very interesting one, because after reading it, it completely changed the way I look at life and at experiences. You see, what the research paper found was that for the 30 seconds before the person died and the 30 seconds after his death, what the brain was doing was replaying experiences, replaying memories. So the brain centers activated during that time were the brain centers that were responsible for memories. Not the ones responsible for keeping the person alive or the ones responsible for abstract thinking, not even the ones that are in charge of panic. No, it was experiences. So, are experiences important? Well, they're literally the last thing we think about before we die. So, brands, of course, know this. Just think of Red Bull sponsoring concerts, or even your local, bakery sponsoring a football club, your local football club. Because brands want to be associated with good experiences. They want to facilitate a great experience. So there's absolutely all the reasons and all the right reasons for brands to do that. The global value of the entertainment industry is 2.3 trillion. That is massive. Also, it has been multiple times it has shown that customer experience is super important. That is one of the leading predictors for repeat purchases. So, now that we know that experiences are important both to us as humans fundamentally, as well as to brands, we can start and take a look at an interesting question. How do we create great experiences? In fact, what are the ingredients for a great experience? Now, great experiences are created through emotion. A positive emotion is what triggers a positive experience. Just think about your wedding, for example. People don't remember weddings because they like the flower arrangements. They remember the weddings because they saw the person that they love and they shared that moment with them. And they shared it in front of people who they care the most about. So, another thing you can think about is how does a brand approach experiences? What is general knowledge and what we kind of have seen work is not to put yourself as the main driver towards that experience, but to facilitate an experience for other people. Think of sponsoring a concert. People won't come to a concert because they really love your brand. They will come to the concert because of the artist, maybe the venue, maybe something else. But what will happen, they will see in the background your brand, on cups, on sponsored material, maybe even on the stage. And what will happen is they will associate that positive experience they had with your brand even the next time, maybe a year later when they see your brand logo, for example. Now, to get to the answer of the question on how to create great experiences, what are the ingredients, we need to take a bit more of a look towards science. So what positive emotions are, in a very basic scientific way, because I am in no way a chemist, are the release of serotonin and dopamine, right? And probably some other chemicals as well. But basically, these positive emotion chemicals, they get released in the brain, and once they do that, we feel happy. And once we feel happy and we get a positive shock, we have a tendency to remember that. The same thing goes with negative experiences as well. But of course, we want to create positive ones. So then we're getting one step closer to finding the perfect ingredients. Now we need to look at evolutionary psychology. And what does it say? Why do these happen? Why do these exist? So what happens is that evolutionary psychology would explain this in a sense of fulfilling human needs. So the release of dopamine and serotonin would, according to them, happen once we fulfill our basic human needs. Now, this is the Maslow pyramid, or the Maslow hierarchy of needs. And it's going to be the final tool for us to figure out what are the key ingredients to create a good experience. So at the bottom, we have the more basic needs. And all of these need to be filled as we go up, and the more important needs are up. So the ones at the bottom, safety and psychological needs, most people in developed countries have a pretty good track record of having these well satisfied. So what we need to focus on is the top ones. So here we have three, but I've split them into two categories. The first one is belonging. Now, everyone wants to be loved. Every one of us wants to belong to a society, to a group of people, and the way we do that is through a behavior called socialization. So we socialize in order to join a friend group, in order to get a better position in a friend group, and so on. So it's a fundamental and basic human behavior. And this is best exemplified by the fact that the toughest punishment in modern prisons is isolation. When prisoners are put in solitary cells, they describe it as one of the worst experiences. Not because they're being physically tortured, but because they have no one to talk to, and they're alone. So, as we move up to the pyramid, we find another need. And this is the most important need, you might say, self-actualization and self-esteem. And this is well exemplified by movies, for example. If you look at any film, you can see that the main point is the hero overcoming a challenge. And that is the key here, is challenging oneself. So if you challenge yourself, just think about the first time you did something. It might have been a bit tough, a bit irritating, maybe even a bit scary. But the next time you did it, it was easier. Now, why? Because you've challenged yourself the first time. You've overcome that challenge, and that resulted in you feeling more self-esteem. So these are our two ingredients. If you allow people to challenge themselves, and if you allow people to socialize, what you will get is you will get a great experience. Now, this is what brings us to the Metaverse. The Metaverse is exactly this. It has come from the fundamental idea that when we challenge ourselves, and when we create social and sociable experiences, whether digitally, or whether we create them in a whole other space, humans are naturally inclined to enjoy these experiences. So in order to talk about the metaverse, let's try and get back to where we found out that the metaverse might be a thing. So what we've seen in the metaverse is that first we saw trends. Now, these trends they ranged from online experiences, creator economies, casual gaming, but what I would say when you put all of these together, we've seen one major trend within Gen Z in the last 5 years. And that was the rise of online multiplayer gaming. Now, all of these kind of come together, and if you think about these three platforms, Roblox, Fortnite, or Minecraft, they collectively, together, have 425 million monthly active users. Most young people who will carry the trend forward. Now, that is more than the population of Britain, France, and Germany, and Hungary combined. That is, in fact, roughly the size of the entire population of North America. Let that sink in. Now, when it comes to these three platforms, they are more than games. And this is where the need to create the term metaverse came from. Because what we found out is, these are not just games. They are places for young people to come together and socialize. In a similar sense that the forums were in ancient Greece or that cafes were in 18th century Europe, the modern equivalent are these games. Let me give you an example. My brother, he's 19 years old. When I was a kid, after school, I'd go to the playground and I'd play with other kids. When I would play with other kids, I would challenge myself and I would socialize with them. But what my brother does, since he was 15, he comes back from school and he jumps with his friends to play some Fortnite, or he played Minecraft for a long time. He never played Roblox though, but a lot of people do. So what I'm trying to say here is that these are much, much more important than just games. But they're not the metaverse in the full sense, because we could just call it online gaming and wouldn't need to invent a fancy new term like the metaverse, right? So why did we? Well, because there's technologies. So we saw, and especially, for example, companies like Meta, who probably has the best data on consumer trends, they saw these technologies and they saw these trends, and they saw that these technologies could actually enhance these trends. Things such as 5G, artificial intelligence, the blockchain, they could amplify the experiences that people already feel on platforms such as Minecraft or Roblox. Now, what is really interesting here is that there is one technology that, in my opinion, stands out. And it is technology, so all of these technologies, they could increase the value of the current experiences, but there is one technology that can completely disrupt it and change the way not only that we use experiences and enjoy experiences, but inherently change the way we use technology. And that is extended reality. For all intents and purposes, let's focus on virtual and augmented reality, so it kind of branches out. There are some things in the middle, like mixed reality, but for today's purposes, I think virtual and augmented reality as the main two representatives of this technology are enough. So virtual reality is basically, you can see, you've heard a lot about it today. You can see, the entire field of view being transformed and having digital information. With augmented reality, you overlay digital information on top of the real world. Now, why this is so important is because for the first time in human history, humans are able to access abstract human-made data and information spatially. And why this is important is because of evolution. Now, how we evolved is to take in 3D data. we evolved to learn in 3 dimensions. This is where the phrase learn from doing comes from. So basically 300,000 years ago, even longer if you count some other ancestors, the evolutionary forces made our brain learn in 3 dimensions. So all the information that we had was gathered in 3 dimensions, right? So how to find a path to an animal to hunt, or how to protect your fire, or I don't know what cavemen did. But 6,000 years ago, we invented writing. And from that moment, we invented abstract information, right? So we needed a tool to get that abstract information visualized. So we started writing it on stone tablets, and then writing it in books, and now we are encoding that information on 2-dimensional screens, like this. Now, the very, very important element of this technology is that it could bring us back to our natural way of learning. And this is how certain elements like VR training achieve much, much better results than any other method of learning. Because we are hardwired to intake information in 3D, and it is more natural to us. Now, this is a great segue to what I'd like to talk about now, which is the current system we have. It is not the metaverse. We have an internet dominated by social media. The social media landscape is very interesting, and I have a controversial opinion. I think the internet is the greatest thing we invented since writing. And I'm going to follow that up with an even more controversial one. I think we screwed it up. And I think we screwed it up with social media. I am the least big fan of social media in the world. Basically, the reason why is because I am what you might call Gen Z. I grew up with social media. My whole growing up, I had a social media account. And I have seen what it has done to my generation. I have seen what social media has done to people. I've seen my friends battling with depression. I have seen my female friends battling with anorexia. And I've seen so many people, including myself, struggle with anxiety. Because the entire way and the entire thing about social media is that you project an image of yourself that is completely inauthentic. And you put it on your social media feed. And then people intake that information and think, well, this is the actual truth. Whereas you're not seeing the vulnerable moments. You're not seeing the actual authentic human. And what that has created is a generation of people who look at dopamine-fueled posts of other people who try to present themselves in the best way imaginable and think that they're not worthy and that they're not good enough. This has resulted in a mental health pandemic. Eating disorders are up by 24% since 2005, roughly the time of social media. Anxiety disorders up by 20%. Plastic surgery up by 22%. Now, why I think the metaverse could change that? It's a fundamental principle of believing that social media is projecting yourself, whereas the metaverse is connecting with other people. You see, on social media, you project yourself through images and videos, and it results in body image issues and all sorts of things. In the metaverse, you actually use avatars. So you create a stylized version of yourself, and what happens then is you can make sure that the actual internal you is more pronounced, that you're putting in, the effort to say the funniest joke, or make sure that your identity is represented in the way that you want it to be. Now, in social media, you follow people. You follow people who post things on your feed, and 1 million people can follow them. Now, in the metaverse, you have a personal interaction with people. You have a one-to-one talk. There's no perfect images. There's no perfect. People make mistakes when they speak. People make mistakes when they talk to you. People make a bad joke and it doesn't land. And that is what makes us love people. That is what makes us connect to people. It's the small but significant mistakes and bad things, because they are the things that signal to us, hey, they're also human. Whereas on Instagram, they look almost surreal. Now, the best thing that exemplifies this is the word personal brand. It puts all of this together, right? It is the word that exemplifies how to create something completely inauthentic to present yourself in a certain light. Now, what the Metaverse offers is authenticity, because there is no personal brand. The personal brand is you when you're actually speaking to people in the Metaverse. So, to recap, what we believe at Takeaway Reality is that the Metaverse is a slow and gradual evolution of the internet into a spatial experience where the passive users who are being projected information to today will be transformed into active participants who will actually participate in the experiences themselves. Now, the Metaverse is not yet fully finished. It's not yet there. But it's not like it doesn't exist already. The Metaverse, as we previously mentioned, will work in the similar fashion that the internet does. Now, the internet has websites. And this is where our entire presentation comes together, right? So when we talk about challenges and socialization and the importance of experiences, we need to take a look at the Metaverse. And as the internet has websites, the websites of the Metaverse are experiences. 3D, spatial, gamified, social experiences. And people already want this. The best thing about this, if you're a brand and you want to start creating these, is that people already want these. Just think of Fortnite or Minecraft. People are already interested in these experiences. So it's not like you're sacrificing current profits for some future promise of the Metaverse. What you are doing is just completely reimagining how experiences are created digitally. And what will happen eventually, some company will figure out an API, how you can take from one experience to another experience your avatar, your digital wallet, potentially your assets, and at that point, it will click. At that point, we'll realize, hey, we have the Metaverse. But if you already start creating experiences, then you need to just wait for that click. But if you don't create experiences right now, and you're not thinking about this, what will happen is this click will come, and so many different companies that maybe didn't even know they're creating Metaverse experiences will realize, hey, people are just randomly dropping in with their avatars. So they would be a part of the Metaverse. But if you're not thinking about this and you're not creating this, at that point you'll be a couple of years behind. Now, what we've learned so far has been experiences are important. We need to create social and challenging experiences. And what we've also learned is that the Metaverse could greatly enhance them. So I have a couple of experiences that could maybe inspire you that you could do as brands, for example. So imagine you have a product such as a car. A virtual product showcase is a great thing. So instead of just showing pictures of the car to people or videos, what you could do is you could actually create a 3D model of the car and put it inside of virtual reality and give the person the ability to drive this car. Then the next thing you could do, you could create just social experiences, right? Just create a room or a concert or something like this in the Metaverse where people could go in, enjoy the music, enjoy potentially some games, challenge themselves, and socialize with people. Another great thing you could do are digital stores, Metaverse stores. You could, if you're a brand that, let's say, is in retail or you're selling certain products, what you could do is you could create a 3D spatial shopping experience, and what we found in our work, gamified shopping experiences work incredibly. So gamify it, give it a challenge, give it a bit of a reason to play, and create the experience. You could also create digital meeting rooms. You could create VR training for your employees as well, which is pretty great because, as we've already spoken about, it is incredible at actually creating a better learning environment and a better learning experience. Another idea, VR exercise. I use VR exercise for cardio. It's great. Imagine just boxing for 15 minutes into the air. I mean, it looks silly, but you are pretty much, it's very hard. So, we've come to the end. I hope the 30 minutes we had today inspired you to take a look at the world that we currently have and the way that we currently interact with technology. And I hope it inspired you and that you saw certain possibilities that we could create with the metaverse that are able to completely turn a new page, completely recreate the way we look at the internet. In other words, I don't see the metaverse as just a technology. I see it as a way to completely reimagine the system that we're currently living in and the way that we interact with both technology and with experiences. Thank you.